They said it would be impossible to dethrone the legendary map of Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, and that no next-generation title could capture its spirit in full. Many longtime fans scoffed at the very notion that another entry might surpass that nostalgic masterpiece. It is no wonder that the moment rumors about Grand Theft Auto 6 began circulating online, a whirlwind of anticipation and anxiety arose. Could Rockstar Games truly top its own legacy? Would the new game's ambitious design eclipse that beloved three-city sprawl? Today we plunge headfirst into these burning questions and more, unraveling what makes San Andreas so remarkable and why Grand Theft Auto 6 may never fully replicate that sensation. Buckle up, because this story takes us from the sunlit streets of Los Santos to the gloomy underpasses of Liberty City, and all the way toward the unknown horizons of Vice City, Gellhorn, and beyond. We are about to find out what happens when scale overshadows substance, and if there is still a chance for the sixth installment to surprise us all. The heart of our tale centers on a seemingly timeless claim. Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas gave us the pinnacle of open-world design, a place where three distinct cities could flourish in one meticulously crafted tapestry. Los Santos, San Fierro, and Las Venturas each possessed its own vibe and atmosphere, even though collectively they were only a fraction of their real-life inspirations. The game pulled you into an experience that felt larger than life, with a stack of side activities waiting around every corner. There was a perpetual sense of discovery as you stole cars, joined up with shady figures, and scoured back alleys for hidden secrets. The question that arises is simple yet daunting. How can Grand Theft Auto 6, or indeed any other game, possibly match that kaleidoscopic world, let alone exceed it? The Magic of San Andreas was not just about scale. Yes, the regions were bigger than previous games, but more than that, they were imbued with a sense of adventure and atmosphere that permeated every strand of virtual DNA. One moment you felt the gritty undercurrent of a city celebrating its hustle. The next moment you fled into dusty trails where coyotes howled at sunset. San Andreas delivered contrasting landscapes and urban pockets at a lightning pace. Players never knew what to expect as they hopped between the imitation of Los Angeles, the snug corners of San Francisco, and the neon glow of Las Vegas. That perpetual shift contributed to an excitement so addictive, it is still praised decades later. Even when Grand Theft Auto 4 arrived, brandishing a more technologically advanced approach, the love affair with the older map did not wane. Liberty City in that release was undeniably layered, with unprecedented detail in every nook and cranny. The improved physics added heft to cars and firefights. Nonetheless, people who longed for the sheer variety and wide-eyed wonder of San Andreas found themselves missing the ability to drive a few miles and land in another city that felt uniquely alive. Liberty City was a single, albeit expansive urban zone, and specific areas had subtle flavor shifts, but it could never replicate the dynamic energy of those three miniature metropolises stitched into one cohesive tapestry. Then Grand Theft Auto 5 burst onto the scene, delivering a version of Los Santos so grand it dwarfed entire maps that came before. The visuals soared, the transitions from city nightlife to arid wilderness were seamless, and the initial sense of scope set a new milestone for open-world titles. But soon, critics began pointing out the emptiness in many corners of the map. The luscious-looking mountains sometimes held little to do. Certain farmland regions felt bare bones unless you specifically sought out random events. From many players' perspectives, Rockstar Games had aimed to wow us with scale at the cost of those intimate details that once enticed exploration around every bend. By the time the excitement settled, fans realized that the beloved strength of a place like San Andreas was the synergy among cities, countryside, and curated distractions. In that older world, it truly felt as if every hillside or roadside was pregnant with possibility. If you are enjoying these recollections of what once made San Andreas so special, feel free to show your excitement by giving this story a friendly nod or a quiet thumbs up. Enthusiasm for these historical gems only amplifies our desire to delve deeper. After all, it takes more than a big map to keep an open-world game fresh for hours on end. It demands intrigue, novelty, and moments of surprise waiting to be unearthed by curious travelers. Now, as the gaming community turns its collective gaze toward Grand Theft Auto 6, the rumor mill runs at full throttle. Speculation pins Vice City as the focal urban hub, peppered with expansions reminiscent of the Florida Keys, rural backlands, and other hypothetical areas with different personalities. The promise of grin-inducing scale is there, swirling in official statements and leaked discussions. Yet one pressing worry flickers in the back of every longtime fan's mind. Will a bigger environment translate to the dreaded problem that plagued Grand Theft Auto V, where huge chunks of territory lacked meaning beyond scenic drives? The game's developers have presumably learned from that lesson, weaving potential side quests, random encounters, and interactive experiences throughout the new map. But delivering such robust content requires an enormous amount of resources and design muscle, which leads to the biggest concern of all. Can a single game, no matter how well funded or planned, genuinely infuse every scrap of land with purpose? To contextualize that challenge, consider Rockstar Games' other crown jewel of open-world design, Red Dead Redemption. The second installment in that franchise pitched players into sprawling grasslands, dusty roads, and forested mountains, each region reflecting a different slice of the old frontier. It worked largely because the setting was meant to be sparse, capturing the solitude of a vanished era. Even so, the developers prioritized emergent wildlife, random events, and survival mechanics that compelled players to slow down and soak in the environment. Simply driving a car from point A to point B in a modern city might not replicate that sense of organic discovery. Grand Theft Auto VI must push for a world that not only looks beautiful, but hums with human and environmental stories. Stick around to see how this ambition might shape the final product. In an ideal scenario, the next installment would combine meaningful scale with organic content. Imagine stumbling upon hidden neighborhoods brimming with local flavor, drifting across miles of farmland only to encounter bizarre roadside attractions, or unmarked side quests that lead to comedic or menacing revelations. Perhaps Vice City's glamorous facade is peeled back in favor of shady districts where each building has a story. Every block has a small piece of the puzzle that will keep you racing back for more. At times, the best memories can come not from the main quest, but from the organic chaos you create or discover on your own. Consider the possibility that every major corner of the map features a distinct cultural identity, complete with new vehicles, different styles of architecture, or unique local street foods that your character can sample. That might sound like a flight of fancy, but it aligns with what made Grand Theft Auto San Andreas so appealing. There was something quietly thrilling about dashing through Los Santos' gang-riddled neighborhoods, then traveling northward to find a crisp, breezy city perched on hilly streets, only to end up in a neon playground that captured the spirit of Las Vegas. Each region felt cohesive yet refreshingly different. Thankfully, there are whispers that Rockstar Games is indeed taking note of these nuances. The real test will come from bridging the gap between a monstrous map and the dynamic experiences peppered throughout it. If enormous areas boil down to repetitive scenery and cookie-cutter tasks, the dreaded label of emptiness will surely follow, tarnishing the game's overall reception. On the other hand, if they architect the environment to ensure minimal wasted space, players might finally see a modern iteration that rekindles the spark of San Andreas. After all, to recapture that lightning in a bottle, Grand Theft Auto VI must make every mile of its broad highways and hidden alleyways feel essential, or at least surprising. If you are longing to see this happen, consider following along so we can uncover every new detail the moment it appears. Grand Theft Auto is, in many ways, a decade-spanning saga that has defined open-world gaming, and being part of the conversation can make the ride all the more thrilling. An important factor for capturing that sense of depth is how transport ties into each region. In San Andreas, for instance, traveling from one city to another using cars, motorcycles, planes, or even jetpacks was part of the immersive variety that made the map feel bigger than it really was. Perhaps Grand Theft Auto VI will allow unique methods of getting around, from airboats cruising swamplands to specialized sports cars ripping through neon-drenched highways. The game could benefit from encouraging players to shift travel modes depending on the region's terrain. If Vice City is as watery as some predict, maybe amphibious vehicles or water taxis will become integral, fueling that atmosphere of vibrant coastal living. Suddenly, the question of how you traverse the environment transforms from a simple practicality to a creative challenge, an ongoing puzzle that helps define each area's identity. We also have to address the intangible sense of style that made San Andreas so riveting for so many. The storyline of that classic game captured a potent moment in hip-hop culture, leaning into neighborhood disputes, hustling for a better life, and forging alliances. By the time players reached the shimmering sin of Las Venturas, it felt like a brand new chapter had opened. Each region used style, music, and side missions to intensify the vibe. So, could Grand Theft Auto 6 replicate that feeling of crossing invisible barriers where the entire atmosphere and culture shift in an instant? Maybe we will see a storyline that rockets the protagonist from a laid-back beach environment to a corporate empire in some inland metropolis, forcing them to adapt to new codes of conduct, new social circles, and new forms of mischief. Yet the real reason critics claim it is impossible for Grand Theft Auto 6 to replicate the best map in the series is not merely about technology or design ambition. It is about nostalgia, the intangible grip that a classic has on our hearts. San Andreas arrived at a moment when gaming was in flux, when transitioning from older console generations to more advanced ones was downright awe-inspiring. That transition shaped our collective memory, merging wonder with the experience of a boundless new frontier. Even if the new game surpasses the old in objective measurements, some folks will inevitably argue that it lacks the soul or that intangible spark that only blossoms in certain eras of gaming history. This does not mean that the new release will be inferior, but that it must climb a steep hill of expectations forged by sentiment and memory. One might argue that this emotional attachment is precisely the reason to hold on to hope rather than cast doubt so quickly. If there is any studio adept at leveraging nostalgia while pushing boundaries, it is Rockstar Games. The company has repeatedly updated older titles, introduced expansions, and created tributes to iconic locations. By all accounts, the team behind Grand Theft Auto 6 stands on the shoulders of giants, equipped with tech far beyond the rudimentary constraints of earlier console generations. The key is how they harness that tech to weave genuine experiences instead of purely flashy set pieces. Do they bury interactive secrets in overlooked corners? Do they craft dynamic weather patterns that plunge the environment into chaos? Each detail potentially sets this new venture apart from any of its predecessors. As we near the end of this deep dive, that question still echoes. Will Grand Theft Auto 6 deliver an immersive tapestry that challenges the supremacy of San Andreas? Or will it fade into the realm of bigger but not better? The stakes are enormous, and the hype is luminous, but so is the possibility that we may witness a reinvention of how open-world action games are tackled. If Rockstar Games manages to marry the sense of novelty from the older games with the scale of modern hardware, we might get a map that does not just recall the best of Grand Theft Auto's past, but also marches it triumphantly into the future. One cannot help but be excited about the evolving scope, the rumored expansions, and the potential synergy between older and newer design philosophies. After all, the genius of Rockstar rests in the ability to build a living, breathing world that is more than a sum of its parts. Ultimately, no matter what side of the debate you fall on, no one can deny that the conversation boils down to more than just polygons and gigabytes. It is the chase for that electrifying sense of wonder that once made you drive recklessly across the entire map in search of new adventures, spurred on by rumors of mythical creatures lurking in the woods or elusive Easter eggs hidden among the hills. If Grand Theft Auto 6 can bottle that thrill again, perhaps we will have something that stands proudly alongside, or even surpasses, the adored memory of San Andreas. The real question is whether we, as fans, are open to embracing a new legend. Thank you for journeying through these layers of mystery, nostalgia, and speculation. The real story unfolds once the game finally lands in our hands. Until that day, keep your eyes peeled for any official tidbits, developer teasers, and gameplay leaks that might foreshadow how big, bold, and bizarre Grand Theft Auto 6 will be. With the right combination of creativity and daring, the realm of open-world chaos might just get reinvented all over again.